What is going on, young One Piece world? It's your boy Soge Kami, and I'm here talking about One Piece chapter 1097. This chapter is titled Ginny, so let's get into it. I thought this chapter was pretty fantastic. It was one of the shorter chapters that we've had in a while, and I think that, you know, especially considering that we don't have a break next week. We're getting right into One Piece 1098. I can appreciate just a short chapter right now, especially considering 1098. We probably will go into a break week after that, but then it'll be just two more chapters, and then we should be getting to 1100 by around December, the early parts of December. So that's always exciting. Maybe in the first week of December we'll be at 1100. Now, in terms of what I thought about this chapter covered a lot of the backstory of Kuma's growing age. How him and Ginny basically grew up in the southern part of the Sorbet Kingdom. They rebuilt that part of the city, took care of the old people while all the young people and all the able-bodied people were moved up to the north part where the king was because they could pay the taxes. I think it's pretty obvious that the tyrant king of the Sorbet Kingdom, that they currently have, this person who's letting people starve, that Kuma will end up taking on his reputation by some means or some way. They're gonna put his bad deeds onto Kuma, and Kuma is gonna just take that reputation because he's that guy. There's nothing. It's like you always hear these sayings like bad news travels 10 times as fast. So it's like even if Kuma were to try and tell people that he wasn't this person, that wouldn't travel as quickly as if people were to tell you that Kuma was this person. People aren't gonna believe the good news. So Kuma does have this I feel like he's gonna take on the bad reputation by this King Bakori guy, and that's just gonna be how he ends up being known as the Tyrant King. That's the very first thing that stands up to me. Another thing that stood out to me in this chapter, just when Kuma's taking in the pain, it seems like he bundles up all the pain from the old people, and then at the end of the day he just absorbs it all. And like when you mix that in with what we see happening with like Zoro and Thriller Bark, and how they, Zoro took in all that pain from Luffy, you makes me really wonder, like, you think back to what Kuma said, right? Kuma was like, this pain has to go somewhere. So like, if they left that pain there, that pain would have went back to Luffy, and that pain would have hit Luffy really hard, right? But Zoro took it, and then Kuma was like impressed by that, and so you could see why Kuma would be impressed by someone who takes in pain for so many years, right? That was part of his backstory, and it makes me wonder exactly how long Oda's been sitting on this, story to tell about Kuma. It feels like Kuma is one of Oda's favorite characters right now, just because of the way that he's created all of these background threads that connect back into this flashback to let us know about where Kuma is and what Kuma's about. I think one of the biggest things that is a huge connection is just this Kuma and Akainu connection. First, we've seen Akainu, when Blackbeard caught Bonnie, right? And then when Blackbeard left Bonnie, and then Akainu says, I was scared to find out that you had gone missing, but now we have you. And then we have this moment where Akainu and Kuma meet up, and then Akainu said, like, you're just a robot, where are you going? So like, there's obviously some type of connection between Akainu and Kuma. And then in this chapter, now that we see that Ginny, is getting taken hostage, I just pray and I hope to God that it's not Akainu who did this. I hope to God that it's not Akainu who did this, because I feel like amongst all the Marine characters, the only characters that Kuma has a connection to at this point would be Saturn, and then it would be to Akainu. So yeah, so I just hope that that's not the case, but I have a feeling that it just might be. Another big thing that I think is worth to mention is the fact that Ginny wanted to get married, but Kuma didn't want to get married. He said that he just kind of avoided the topic, and I felt that was really sad because, he thought about his mom, and he thought about like what happened when his mom and he was born, right? And his mom got put into slavery. She wasn't even a buccaneer. She got brought into slavery and died for Kuma's sake. All because he was born. She was brought into slavery over that. So I just think that is something that to overcome, and I don't even know how you talk about that with somebody, right? If you tell somebody that, they're just gonna say, no, that doesn't matter, it's okay with me, but then like you're not okay with something, the worst happening to that person, right? And based on the fact that Ginny's not alive, it seems like the worst does happen to Ginny. So I'm just really not like that. That's the type of thing that is making me not excited for this arc, because like at this point it feels like Kuma was right, to not want to have to marry Ginny, to like keep her safe, because though the worst does happen to her, people do, it's like the Spider-Man situation, right? People find out your weakness and then they start going after their loved ones, because and I just think that that's one of the things that is like a weaker part, like is like one of the parts that I'm struggling to have to come to terms with. I don't want something terrible to happen to Ginny. I've seen people say like way worse stuff than I imagined, but even those stuff, even what I imagine, even death alone, I feel like Ginny is such a good person. She's already been through enough. She doesn't need to die. But at this point, it just doesn't seem like she's gonna make it. So I hope Oda doesn't. I hope I don't cry. That's my main thing. I hope I don't cry, because I just don't need that. I don't need that. We get the introduction of Ginny. We get the introduction of Ivankov and Dragon as freedom fighters recruiting Kuma, and this is during the year post O'Hara incident. This is probably a little bit after Vegapunk had met Dragon, and so Ivankov and Dragon come to the Sorbet Kingdom. They free Kuma, and then they invite him to join the Revolutionary Army, or the Freedom Fighters, and they become the Revolutionary Army with the 3 pillars on top. And Ginny's involved, but it seems like during their war efforts, Ginny and Kuma are actually separated, and Kuma does spend a lot of time going back to the Sorbet Kingdom and taking care of them. And I don't know if they actually went this long period of time without actually seeing each other, but now they have a chance to see each other, and before that somebody comes and snatches up Ginny, and I think that is a little I wonder if that was a setup, if somebody on the inside of the Revolutionary Army might have set them up, or if it could have been something else, maybe. I'm not sure. And lastly, we get the confirmation that Dragon was a former Marine. I think that is something that everyone, myself included, had either predicted or just wanted to hear more about. I was more in the camp that Dragon would have been at God Valley in some way. So I really want to know now if there's going to be like a Dragon flashback. I want to know what made him leave the Marines. What position did he have in the Marines? How far did he go up? And what exactly, like, if Dragon's the most dangerous person and he's someone who left the Marines, like, where is Aokiji at this point, right? I feel like Dragon and Aokiji have a lot in common at this point now, right? They're both former Marines. Now they're basically both pirates. So I wonder if Aokiji and Dragon have made some type of connection, and maybe Aokiji is the mole for the Revolutionary Armies. I just feel like there's a connection there that needs to be kind of extrapolated upon. And it seems like, Akainu has all this hate for Dragon, but he doesn't have the same heat that he has for Dragon for Aokiji. So I wonder what the difference is there. Like, do Akainu and Aokiji have some type of better connection, or is it something specific that Dragon did that makes him differentiate? Because Dragon's fighting for freedom. Aokiji literally joined Blackbeard Pirates. So I really wonder if, where on the bad scale does Akainu judge both of them, right? Or is it all, they're both against my justice, they're both awful, but like I said, Dragon's just, the way that Dragon gets talked about by Akainu is way worse than the way that Akainu has talked about Aokiji. He doesn't even care. He doesn't even really care that Aokiji left, So that's just one of the things that really stood out to me about that chapter. I think that may make a huge difference. I wonder if Kuzan is going to be the type of person who is going to reintroduce himself as somebody, as part of Dragon's background. I wonder when Dragon's background is going to be, talked about further. And in 1098, this is probably going to be, if not the end of the flashback, but I think it'll probably be the end of the flashback, the last chapter of the flashback. I think that we'll get, a conclusion as to who took Ginny. I still think it's probably going to be Akainu or somebody we know. My guess is Akainu, because Akainu seemed to be tatted all over, Kuma's backstory and, his connections in the story. So, yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this chapter, what you guys think that happened in 1098. Like, subscribe, let me know you're alive down in the comment section below. This has been Soge Kami, out.